G'day ladies and gentlemen, Duckville here, welcome to a StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm replay cast that I've got for you today. Should be another interesting one featuring our resident Zerg player here who has dropped a replay pack over on teamliquid.net. You can find it over in the general section of StarCraft 2. Here from Clarity Gaming, it is Bob. Now we did see Bob in a couple of games that I uploaded yesterday. I am trying to keep just a general sort of, like, you know, 1 or 2 games a day if I can, guys. Obviously, weekends, I'm not really going to be able to get much done, so I'll do what I can. But, yeah, at the moment, we've got a couple of games from Bob, who's been really impressive. He's got some great macro. Apparently, does a little bit of random and weird stuff every now and then. I checked out his stream earlier today, and yeah, he's happy to freestyle a little bit, which I really appreciate because you know, a lot of the time in lots of the matchups, you get very stable sort of situations where things are very predictable. And as a caster, sometimes I don't know, it gets a little bit wacky, and only in battle situations can you really sort of have a look at something and say, well, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. So, you know, wacky builds are some really interesting things that I do like to see every now and then. Now, Bob's opponent down at the bottom left-hand side is our blue Terran player here. No clan at the moment, not to worry, it is Salvation. And we will see what he's up to. It looks like it is going to be a pretty standard sort of build. It looks like it's going to be a CC on the low ground, which is a little bit daring, especially with Bob noticing that SCV was going down there. You'll see just a really tiny thing. Like, you guys know I like to really talk about the small things that really help. Bob actually moved his drone up here, and like he saw the SCV heading down, but then decided to continue going up this way. Now, what that means is that the SCV kept going down and actually did start the command center, but Bob was able to come back and put a little bit of hurt on that SCV. As we can see, this guy has to be repaired now. That's some slightly wasted resources, which you normally wouldn't really have to deal with there. So it's just, it's an extremely tiny thing, and I know a lot of the players are going to be out there thinking, why are you even talking about this tiny, ridiculous thing that doesn't even matter? But just remember, every single step you take up in the game, small things do matter. Whether it be just climbing up when it comes to skill, or whether it be climbing up the ladder just in general. As you move up, little things are really going to count. So just a tiny small thing there from Bob, which I really do like to see from some places, being a little bit deceptive with their early workers, especially if you scout your opponent going for some kind of early expansion build. But Bob's going to follow up with some gas. He does have the spawning pool also on the way, and we'll see how this game is going to go, because TVZ has been a really interesting matchup. It's been generally quite balanced, although like after the tank, I suppose, slight buff, and then the Widow Mine nerf, it's been a little bit interesting. We'll see how it does pan out. I know a lot of players, I have had a couple of people asking me, you know, in all the replays you watch, have you seen more Terran players getting tanks? I wouldn't say that it's been an overall massive change. I actually did some casting last weekend of the MSI Saturday Showdown, where I got to see Apocalypse take on Solar from Samsung Galaxy, and Apocalypse actually did do some marine tank. All the guys from Wings of Liberty will remember that kind of standardized style that was used in TVZ. Now, I don't know if it's going to become a default again, because I think mines still do have a little bit of a leg up sometimes, but I think it really depends on the situation. So we'll see how that part of the metagame shifts around. But overall, this matchup is generally pretty balanced. For the high-level Zergs, I think they do have a pretty decent time, and as you sort of move down the ranks, I think it does become a little bit more Terran favored, just due to the simple fact that, you know, lower skilled Zergs, when you sort of move down past Masters, it sort of becomes a little bit of an issue for those sorts of players to get their macro timings out right, get their drones and all these kinds of things, and then also micro when it comes to dealing with Widow Mines, either diffusing them or, you know, just making sure that you're avoiding them. Is something that some of the lower players still do have to come to grips with as they move through the ranks. So in this game, we'll see that Salvation is building up a third CC very quickly here. He is going to look towards a little bit more of a macro game. A couple of Hellions are on the way out. There are going to be a lot of Lings now sweeping forwards. This is Well, this is a standard kind of timing here for our Zerg player, where you normally will expect the Hellions to be out, but I mean, because of this very fast third CC, of course we did see the CC first from Salvation, his Hellions are still not actually out on the map just yet, so we are still waiting for that kind of thing to come about, but luckily for Bob, he does have this protective force now ready to go as he sends a few lings around. We're just, wow, he's really spacing out some of these lings right now, just wanting to make sure that he's got all sorts of areas covered, and even doing a little bit of a dance in the middle here. So he is making sure that all routes are covered so that he can keep an eye on what's going on. One thing you'll notice here is that he does have one of the lings just up the top. This is just to try and scout out any medevacs that might try and take a path through this direction here. He's got the same sort of thing down here. You want to keep an eye if they go this way, and as you can see, just a lot of vision out on the map for Bob at the moment, while he continues to drone up, and as we can see, once he makes sure that he's clear of this upcoming supply block, which he certainly should be with an overload just about to pop out, we'll see where his tech is going to go. So the normal sort of play in this particular matchup is to jump up to, you know, you get your melee upgrades, you get your Bailey Nest. Obviously we can see that this one's a little bit later, knowing that his opponent has gone extremely economic, and Bob is going to be free to move up to what we would assume is going to be the Ling, Bane, and Muta style play. So we'll expect that lair to start popping up in a second here as this extra little bit of gas now starts to come in, and he will start to bank just a tiny bit of gas just alongside that. We can see he's just got up to 300. We'll hit 350 in a second. We'll probably start some upgrades and then also start a lair in a moment here as he prepares for the mid game. Oh, bam, there you go. Alright, so everything looking quite nice here for Bob at the moment. His worker count is now up to 50, but his opponent, Salvation, is doing quite a nice job himself. He's up to the 50 SCVs, has a lot of production now starting up inside the main base. We have 1-1 on the upgrades on the way, and he is going to look to probably take his third base very soon. In fact, that command center now moving across there right now. So everything very, very passive for the moment. No real aggression at all from either side. Of course, we will see some units now moving out here from Salvation as he looks to clear out his front door, wants to get rid of these rodents out the front, these little pests that are here, as the Lings will now retreat, and Bob will just be happy. He'll be content in the fact that he'll know that his opponent is now heading towards that third base. As the command center floats across, it's going to have to drop down in a second. The Ling blocking the road for a moment, but does get wiped out by the Hellions. So things are, well, just proceeding very normally, I guess, as very normal and very passive here from both players. So they're just happy to stick with a very passive kind of style here as Bob starts to move out some of this creep spread. I have seen in a couple of the other replays he has in his little pack that he does have some really decent creep spreads, so we do always appreciate that kind of thing when it comes to this particular matchup. You always want to have a lot of creep available so that you can spread your Lings out. You want to be able to, you know, if the Terran decides to move on to this position here, and say that Salvation came across here, you want to be able to really run around, wrap around, and jump in the back so that you can try and kill off all of those units very quickly. But Bob is now approaching his opponent's side of the map, and I think should have seen that there are actually some Hellbats here, which are going to make this a very tough fight for him. So it's a little bit of a different build coming out from our Terran player this time, going for the Hellbats. This is something that that we did see. Who was it? I think it was MVP and even Tasia were doing it a little bit quite a while ago. I'm not talking, you know, last month. I'm talking way back in earlier parts of HOTS, when Hellbats were a lot more powerful than they are now. But you could do this kind of push here, where you would move into Hellbats and try and take advantage of the fact that the Zerg will generally spend a lot of their income on these light bio units that will just get annihilated by Hellbats. Now, the other bonus of the Hellbats with their splash damage is that they are able to do a lot more work when it comes to dealing with Banelings as well. They can also soak them up a little bit. So this push is going to be very interesting here from Salvation as he moves across the map with a little bit more of an old school style. Keep in mind, he does not have Blue Flame upgrade, so the Hellions, the Hellbats and the Hellions that are here won't be as powerful as you would normally expect them to be, but either way, it will give him a strong push as he decides to push across here. Now we will see if Bob gets the wraparound, and there he goes, beautifully done. Now charging through with the Banes, does get a wonderful amount of connections there. No real splits from Salvation. I mean, he started to split when the battle was already getting away from him. I'm not sure what the plan was there, but unfortunately, just when you, as we said before, you push into creep here, you run into a lot of trouble when the Zerg is able to run around the back and just sandwich you from both sides. So that's pretty much a solid demonstration of that kind of theory and tactic that we were talking about just before. So Bob will probably move to take the fourth base here very soon. As we can see, some Lings and Banes are being dropped down onto these on these Marines so that he can get some more decent trades before the Hellbats start to come out in greater number. But Salvation sort of scrambling at the moment to get some upgrades out. We got 2-2 on the infantry units on the way, and as you can see, some more Hellbats will be coming through very soon. I would maybe like to see him start to maybe add in a Thor or something like that, just to have a little bit more muta protection as well, because at the moment when you're relying on these Marines as your anti-air, and they have to deal with the threat of Lings on the ground, it does get a little bit dicey when it comes to these big battles that you generally tend to have in the middle of the map. So we can see now the Bop is looking to take his 5th base down at the bottom right hand side, the 4th up here at that 12 o'clock position as well. His main base starting to get a little bit low, but he does have of course, a lot of workers out on the map right now. 60 in total, actually below his opponent, which is quite intriguing to see a Zerg actually behind a Terran there. 70 workers for Salvation, but he will have a little bit of trouble as a few mutas are now popping inside the main base. They're going to try and snipe out some of these add-ons. That particular add-on is, I'm not sure about the choice of going for a tech lab there. Isn't entirely useful, because a tech lab on a factory, if the unit there is building and it's like a Thor or a tank, it's still going to build. It's not going to get cancelled or anything like that. So sometimes going for a reactor is a much better idea. But Bop now just running inside the 3rd base, getting some great harassment off there, picking off quite a lot of those SCVs. Is now going to have to retreat a few too many Hellbats there to try and push into the natural. The commuters across the other side are taking a little bit of fire as they look to harass and try and stop that 4th base from going down, while Bop continues to increase his, well, I wouldn't say it's a sizable lead, but he's in a strong position as long as he controls these Lings well. The big issue that he has to deal with are these Hellbats. If they continue to either grow in number, or if we do start to see Blue Flame being added on, then these guys can become quite a nuisance to deal with. But now, as you can see, Salvation has started to head across to Widow Mines, in fact, so he is going to change it up. We'll finally get some starports gracing the field, because he will need to get some medevacs out, because some of these Marines are getting extremely low. A very odd build here from Salvation, I must say. It's not standard to see one just completely neglect medevacs for, what are we at, 17 minutes in the game. It's very odd to see that. So he hasn't really had any potential to come in and, do drops in here at the 4th base, or even come in here to the main base and get some damage done there, and neither. The same sort of thing over here on the right-hand side of the map. So he's really, I think he's kind of limited himself here, and he's going to look to try and push forwards. He does have some nice upgrades here. 2-2 on those Marines. The Hellbats have also got their own +2 on their weapons as well, so they do quite a sizable amount of damage. Mutas now sweeping across. Are going to take out a couple of those Widow Mines. Gets one Muta though. Nice little shot there from that single Widow Mine. And Salvation now going to push in here. What we want to normally see is a Terran just sort of setting up these Widow Mines in these areas so that they can run back across them. But now, as we can see, the mines are just getting very little damage done before the Banelings and the Lings are able to roll through. And as you can see, the effect of having no medevacs at all means that these Marines are just continually dying. There is no way that they can sort of stand and fight a little bit as they normally would, and this is the downside of this kind of build. When you're investing in slightly different kinds of styles here, you got to try and make sure it's optimized. I think maybe sticking with the Hellbats and then adding in the medevacs instead of Widow Mines would have been a nicer idea, but now he's in a lot of trouble as these Lings now push forwards. They will take down a couple of Widow Mines before they get shot down themselves, but Bob is now surrounding his opponent. There is no way out, nowhere to hide for that Marauder, and as a couple of Lings go down, we can see that Salvation is forced to back off for now, because he just cannot compete with this kind of force that is out here. It's too mobile, it's too cheap as well. It's far easier for Bob to reinforce these kind of very basic units here, the Lings and the Banes. Of course, the mutas do cost 100 gas, which is a little bit more expensive than you would rather it be, but either way, it's a lot easier for Bob to reinforce here. He's now got, 6 hatcheries online, so he's going to be able to really get some great production going. He's now transferring a couple of drones down here to the bottom right-hand side base. For the moment, Salvation just moving back into a much more standardized style, getting Winter Mines, Marines, Medevacs, and now Marauders coming out for our Terran player as he looks to try and re-establish some semblance of map control back. But I mean, he does have 3 bases, which is always working nicely for him. His opponent's up to a total of 5 now, and I would probably expect Bob to look to even take a 6th base very soon. Now that his Ultralisks are out, he's got the funky Ultralisk skin that you get from the Collector's Edition, and they will be lumbering forwards alongside the Lings. Do we have the Adrenal Glands upgrade? No, we don't just yet, but Adrenal Glands, when it's added in, gives these Lings a nice little boost to their DPS. You've got the Ultralisks here to tank up a lot of the damage, and the Banelings to smash through large groups of units. So Salvation's got a lot on his plate to deal with. The creep spread is also a big factor here as well, now pushing forwards past the halfway mark of the map here. So Bop has got a huge amount of power now moving forwards here. The Lings are just deciding to charge past, eating up some of those Marines on the way. The Mutas and the Ultras are now inside as well. They're going to get some really good damage done. Approaching from the side is Salvation. He's got a large force. If he can burrow some of these Marines and really get the mines, sorry, you can't burrow Marines, god, that'd be terrifying. But if he can burrow these mines here and protect this frontal area, this is what he'd really want, just because that means that his natural domain and the 3rd base are all protected. So he does get some decent damage done there for the moment, just sniping down a couple of the units. In fact, these mines have actually gotten a couple of good shots off, but Bob is going to be able to deny this base, if not at least for now. He will have to deal with the forces of Salvation now pushing forwards. Mines are burrowing, Marines and Marauders are retreating, getting some nice shots off there. A couple of these units are getting very, very low. The Bio Forces now trying to lure the Zerg back into the Widowmine death zone, and they do get a lot of kills, but Bop is now... well, he's able to remax out on Lings. We've got pneumatized carapace on the way. We do have his 3-3 is all done. +2 on the air weapons is also done as well. So he's going to just remax. We're going to get a lot of Banelings now here as well. 26 Banes are on the way. Some more Lings being added into the mix. And a very big push here from Salvation. But is he going to be able to deal with the fact that there is already some creep spread up here? There are going to be a lot of Banes now sweeping through. As we can see, they're just going to charge through. The Ultras doing their best to chomp through those Marauders as well. The Banelings rolling as they do, and they will come across, and he's going to be able to smack down quite a lot of the forces that are here. And as we can see, Salvation drops down to 158 supply. A lot of his forces now retreating, getting away as fast as they can to try and escape the onslaught of the Zerg swarm. But Bop is now firmly in control. You would really want him to grab another base right now just to make sure that his economy is nice and secure. But he's up to 78 drones already. I mean, he's not too phased at this point. He's got a huge group of Lings right now. 95 Lings are out on the map in force at the moment. There are 8 Mutas up in the sky. There are only 9 Banes, but not to worry because there are also 5 Ultralisks. So he does have a very powerful force on the ground at the moment. We can see that, well, initially Salvation was looking to get some Marauders out to try and make sure that he could protect himself against those Ultras, but I mean, it's just going to be too much right now. The Ultras, the Lings are going to sweep across them. The Widow Mines get some decent shots as well. It looks as if some of the mines are actually in a little bit of an unfortunate position here, and they will get sniped out by the Ultras. And now moving back to try and hold himself here at the 3rd base is Salvation, but there is no salvation for him as he falls back. The Lings and Ultras are now free to chomp away at all of those Terran buildings, and chomp away they will. A GG from Salvation as this game finishes up with a win for Clarity Gaming's Bop. Go and check him out on Twitch and also Twitter. Say hello there as well. And download the replay pack. It is over at teamliquid.net. Thanks for watching. See you guys later. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really nicely there. And for Minigun, he's been sticking with a much more